Hi, you've reached the Caldwells. Please leave a message and we will get back with you just as soon.
Welcome to the RV Work-Life Balance Podcast with your traveling nomadic hosts, Sherri and Russ Caldwell.
Hey, that's us. We're living the dream, working from home, baby.
No matter where home is.
And you can too. I'm ready.
All right.
All right.
Welcome back to the podcast.
Hello.
Hello. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's always a good way to start.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to ask you, like I like to do, where are we today?
Today, we are at our home membership park or RV resort in Blaine, Washington, for a month or so. We're right up on the Canadian border.
Yeah, near BC.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. And it's actually been beautiful up here. That's
gorgeous.
Which is funny because last season when we rolled in, it was not beautiful. It was very wet.
We decided that June was way too early to be here, but it just worked out this year.
Came back too early.
Yep.
But you're right.
Plus, it was hot, and it's not as hot last year.
Last year.
So hot.
Not in a good way.
No.
So, but it's beautiful right now, and we're coming up on the 4th of July holiday weekend, so the place is packed with people rolling in and backing the rigs in, which is always fun. And there's going to be lots of parties going on. There's going to be lots of fireworks, like all across the United States. So it's going to be a good time.
And we're here every year this time of year because our youngest son was born on the 4th of July.
Yeah, and
we're here for a birthday party.
Up until he was like 12, he thought the fireworks were for him, because that's what I told him. But yeah, it's a good time. So we get to see him. We get to see other family members that live in Seattle. We get to do the required doctor's visits and all the other stuff we got to do when we're in town. So that's
annuals.
That's right. So, trying to take good care of ourselves while we're on the road. So, yeah. And then, so what is the topic today?
Today, we're going to talk about the origin story.
Bum, bum, bum. I like your special effects better than mine. It's good.
And how this all started. Living, working, traveling full-time in a big RV.
Yeah, which was never our intention.
What?
No. This was not a bucket list item. This was not like, hey, one day we're going to do this. No. Nope. And I'll be honest, I think a lot of people have not the same story, but they have a same sequence of events that led them during the same time frame that we're going to describe.
Well, yeah.
People made decisions that were not part of their normal plan, and this was ours. So it's a good story. I like it because it changed the trajectory of our life in a big way. Our
very lives.
Yeah, and it's still very interesting to this day. So we figure we've been asked this question a lot. So we sit around a campfire, we meet people on the road, and we all want to know where each people started their life in the RVs, and ours started relatively recently. Some people have been doing this for 20 years. We haven't been doing it 20 years.
2-year anniversary, baby.
So start us up. How did this start?
Well, in 2019, after 25 years in Atlanta, Georgia, raising our family and building our careers, we came from the Pacific Northwest, but we'd been out on the East Coast. But in 2019, we moved back home to Seattle, Washington for family and a new job. Mm-hmm. It was all very exciting. We came back and we leased a condo downtown Seattle within view of the Space Needle. It was magic.
We were like 3 blocks from the Space Needle, so it was pretty cool.
It was awesome. And we signed a 2-year lease so that we could sort out where we wanted to be after being so far away for so long.
When we lived here a long time ago, 20 plus years ago, whatever it was, we lived across the water, so we didn't live in Seattle. And so when we came back, the place has changed. There's a lot the same, but a lot had changed. The place, a lot of money had come in, a lot of tech companies had come in, and so we weren't quite sure where we wanted to live. And so if we didn't want to buy the wrong house in the wrong place, that wasn't going to work out.
And we needed to have you near your office.
That's right. I was working in a downtown in Seattle, so we were trying to figure out how we could make that work. And so we knew it was going to take time, so we leased a condo for a couple of years, which was really fun.
2 years.
Yeah, really fun because we were right downtown where all the action was.
And it was a smallish condo. Well, it was 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
2 bedrooms. Because we had our youngest who moved out to Seattle with us. He was 20 at the time, and he was going to school.
Mm-hmm.
So 2019, we moved back, and we had one gorgeous year in Seattle. It was absolutely beautiful.
It was
We're
epic.
like, what were we worried about? What rain? Everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And you started your job.
Yeah, I was riding the bus, which was not normal for me. When we lived in Atlanta, it's a very car-based city. When we came to Seattle, we were living right downtown, and the office was, 15 blocks, 20 blocks, maybe more. And so it didn't make sense to drive a car, so I was riding the bus, which is actually fun. It was new for me, but driving the bus was pretty cool. And take me down to the office.
Riding the bus. You weren't driving yet.
Not yet. It turns out we moved from riding the bus to driving the bus, which is pretty cool.
Now he's the bus driver in the RV.
I just don't pick anybody up, so it's not a great bus for anyone else. But, so it was unusual, but that's how it started. Yeah, riding the bus to the work.
And I had transferred my freelance writing from Atlanta to Seattle, kind of settling into the new community and figuring everything out, taking care of family.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 2019. And then March of 2020.
Yeah, we all went through the vortex.
Everything changed. I think it was actually March 9th of 2020 where we had gone on a quick weekend trip to San Francisco. I mean,
love that town.
It's amazing that we survived that with our oldest son and his fiancée. So anyway, we'd gone for the long weekend to San Francisco. We came back and the world changed.
Yeah.
And we came home to the email from your office.
Yeah, they were closing the office, and that happened to a lot of companies, but, it was a shock at the time for everyone. They were closing our office and making us work from home, which caught us off guard, but, I worked in tech, so it wasn't the craziest thing. But we all, everybody around the world, we were all going through this strange vortex. And so for us, we were doing that too. We had 3 of us living in this tiny little place.
Because our college student couldn't go to school. Well, that was a little bit before, but he had gotten into the university, was accepted, and then ended up delaying the entrance during that time. It was crazy, y'all. You remember?
Yeah.
We were all of a sudden at home in this condo with the college kid, and he is a great roommate, but still, it wasn't any of our plans. And we had this one area where we set up Russ's office we had an open kitchen, living room, dining room, living room, whatever. And we had Russ at a desk against the window. Well, the only problem with this was with Zoom. He was on Zoom all day. I couldn't come out of our bedroom without being in the background of his Zoom.
All my calls, yeah.
So
I set up, everybody turns on the fake backgrounds, and they're pretty lame in my opinion, right? Everybody had the built-in ones. So all I did was set up a little recording. I just used the laptop and recorded. I stepped out of the way and recorded what was actually in my background, which was the bookshelves and the doors and stuff. I made a little recording of 30 seconds. And then I chose that video as my looping background. And what was interesting is that meant that, Sherri and my son could walk around behind us to go between rooms and things like that, and nobody would notice. But what's interesting is I had some blinky lights because I did some IoT stuff. So I have some interesting little artwork
These
things.
little electronic boxes.
Yeah,
they're just flashlights.
I made stuff that, had blinky lights. No big deal. But that meant that you could see these things blinking on our shelves. I only point that out is because that made it look like it was still real. And that was not my intention, but
active.
Everyone fell for the, hey, it looked like I was still in the room, but I wasn't. And never thought twice about it. Really didn't, right? At that time, everyone was just at home. So, but that turned out to be quite a interesting thing as we move forward. Because later on, yeah.
So, yeah, at that time, Russ actually started watching RV YouTube videos.
Yeah, I was already love YouTube. First off, been always watching YouTube, but I, added to the list of junk I watch besides tech was RV stuff, and it was just because we were all at home, we are all watching.
Yeah, I figured it was
Tiger
being
King and
in
all
isolation.
That crap. And, YouTube was my thing.
Yeah. So he's watching all these people in big RVs, buying RVs, driving RVs, doing all kinds of adventures and
they
stuff.
were all
And
pre-pandemic,
like, okay,
right?
That's
this is
nice.
just stuff that people were doing pre to the pandemic, yeah.
And I didn't think too much about it. And then, as the weeks turned into months, I started watching these stupid RV YouTube videos as well, because it was a chance to pass the day. We weren't getting out and going anywhere, so we watched other people.
Yeah.
So every Sunday morning, we'd have over our breakfast and coffee, we'd catch up with our friends because usually they send out their videos
updates
on Sundays. So, yeah, that was COVID entertainment during COVID.
It turns out it was a gateway drug for RVs. We didn't know that, though. Yeah.
So, yeah, still not really thinking too much about it.
Never planned to get one. Just fun to watch.
Yeah. We ended up at an RV show, an outdoor RV show.
Had nothing to do that weekend.
And it was our anniversary.
Yeah. And we were supposed to be somewhere else. That's when I say nothing to do. We were actually supposed to be in Hawaii, but that all got canceled.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so, there wasn't a lot you could do at that time in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
But get in your car, take your own snacks, take your mask and your hand sanitizer and drive.
Mm-hmm.
We were heading over the San Juan Islands.
That's right.
And then passed by this outdoor RV show at the Tacoma Dome in Tacoma, Washington.
Yeah, cool.
So we stopped.
Yeah, we just parked. It was like nothing else to do. It's outside. What could go wrong?
And we did wear our masks,
mm-hmm.
and we toured through, 20 RVs they had sitting there. These were not new ones. These were used RVs.
Yeah. They were relatively new, and they were like less than 5 years old, I think, most of them. But we did tour through most of them ultimately, but it was the third or fourth one that we walked in that changed
It was
things.
magic. It was magic, y'all.
For her.
I, kind of just being a ride-along, walked into this RV and looked around, and it's like, oh, for the first time, I could finally see myself in one of these RVs. And it was so comfortable, and the layout was right, and the colors and the design were right. And it was just beautiful and so open. And it had a king-size bed. So I was shocked and pleasantly surprised.
And she started talking about how much this cost and, how we'd finance it, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, wait. We're just looking around. What are you talking about? And she's like, well, I could see us doing this. I'm like, wait, what? And then all of a sudden it became, well, we could buy this now. And she said, and I'm like, wait, whoa, we're buying something now? So.
And he's like, you want to go for a test drive?
Yeah. They said, do you want to drive it? I'm like, whoa, we just were killing time at the Tacoma Dome.
It was a 40-foot RV. Yeah. Neither of us had ever driven.
Not a Class
A 40-foot RV.
No, we drove up in our little, we didn't have the Jeep at the time.
No, we had
Explorer.
Yep.
So we just drove in our little Explorer, and they're like, "You want to drive this monster?" And we're like, "I don't think I'd throw me the keys. I don't."
But I was like,
trust me.
"Sure."
Yeah, she's like, "He knows how to do
He'll
it."
do it.
Exactly. I'm like, "Okay."
But the guy did go with us. So
yeah, so he was going to die with us. So what?
And it was insane because downtown Tacoma, it's all interstates.
Yeah.
It's crazy spaghetti junctions and
he's
all
like, turn
this
here,
going on.
go left, go right. And I'm like, this thing's big. What are you talking about?
And you did great.
I didn't
You're a
wreck
natural.
it. We didn't wreck it. That's all I know. So.
And it was just so gorgeous.
So we were pretty excited. Let's just say that. We were pretty excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you always describe this, thought process of why we would get this, right? Is that...
Yeah.
How'd you put it?
Yeah. Well, with both of us in the condo and the college kid at home, it was... I was looking at it as an escape plan. It was a getaway. We'd get out of the apartment, giving both us and our college student some much needed space. And we also had another motivation because at the time, our 23-year-old daughter was living on her own and working as a frontline healthcare worker in a large regional hospital in Spokane, Washington, which was on the other side of the state, 5 hours away from Seattle. So it was really tense back then. And she was on her own. And I don't know, we were just desperate to find a way that if she needed us, we could get to her and be there to help. We'd have a place to stay and not be in the COVID germs or whatnot, but we could be there for her.
Yeah, so
that was really a thing.
It was like a getaway thing at first, and then it was like, well, we started rattling off excuses why this was a good idea, right? Oh, we could go see our daughter, and it's the cheapest condo in Seattle, and
my God.
we were justifying this decision. And
by the end of the day,
and at that point, COVID, we were, of course, like everybody, we're like, oh, we're all going to die from COVID anyway. So it was like, oh, okay, we got nothing to lose, right? So it was.
By the end of the day, we had that sucker under contract or under reservation.
We were
had put a
talking
deposit.
to them about trying to figure out how to get this one. So
yeah. Which was insane because we lived downtown Seattle in a condo.
That's right. That's right. So fast forward a little bit, right?
Okay, fast forward. We didn't ultimately end up getting that 2015 Integra Aspire.
We bought one year newer,
right?
Same exact model. We really did fall in love with the layout and everything like
right.
that.
And that first one didn't work out, and thank God it did not, because when that fell through, just with timing and everything, we had a chance to search out a little more about the Integras and find Charlie.
Yeah, we knew nothing. This brand, when we walked in, she says, it says Integra on the front. I had no idea, right? I knew things like Winnebago from the 70s and stuff, right? So I didn't know any of this stuff. We were, again, walking around. It's kind of like when you're looking at houses, you're just walking in every house. You're just looking. And this one here she liked. And I had to go back out and look at the front. Like, what is this one called?
But that's happened to us before. It's like when you're searching for an apartment, a condo, a house. It's always been like that magic moment when you walk in and it's like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
Now get it for me.
Now,
honey.
And the bar, the bar to get into this was like, oh, we're just going to go on weekends and little vacations, right?
It's a getaway plan.
It was a getaway, right? So this whole thing about, live, work, and travel and trying to balance work, none of this was in our plan. It was just kind of, like I said, kind of a gateway drug again. It's like, you get into this a little bit and then you get into it a lot. Yeah,
the biggest thing we had to figure out with that purchase, I mean, there was financing and, issues and like that. But nobody was spending any money back then. So we had...
They loved us. Yeah, they loved us.
So the biggest concern was like, where are we going to put this thing?
Yeah, downtown Seattle.
Storage.
Would not fit in the underground parking. No.
Charlie never went into downtown Seattle.
That's right.
Never.
That's right.
So we bought it.
Yeah. And there's a whole other story we'll tell in another podcast about how we got Charlie because we were in Seattle. We found it online.
RV Trader.
Yep. And we found it in Orlando. So it was nearly as far away as possible.
And it was the height of COVID, so there
Yep.
was no flying to Orlando.
It was very difficult to fly there and all that kind of stuff. So we had to buy it online. We had to do video inspections, and we paid an inspector. Like, we did everything we could, but ultimately we couldn't get it delivered, and so we got it they delivered it halfway across the country.
They transported it from Orlando to Des Moines, Iowa, which is as far west as they had a dealership.
That's right. And so there's a whole drama, which we'll tell another time, about how we picked it up and brought it home to Seattle. Because, again, we didn't know anything about RVs. So that was interesting. But it was like, that's how desperate I think everybody was. We're all doing things that we wouldn't normally do. And we're like, sure.
Crazy times, man.
That's right. That's right.
And ultimately, we're so happy that we did, because we ended up with Charlie, the unicorn RV.
Yeah. We've traveled around the United States twice, coast to coast, around 38 states, something like that.
Yeah, but how did we get there? Because at first it was just a week. Then we were going out 2 weeks at a time and coming back to the condo to do laundry and stuff.
And that's part of this origin of, like, again, we made a kind of a quick decision, but, because you were comfortable with it, I was comfortable with it at that point. At that point, we had to learn everything from driving it to running all the systems.
More YouTube videos.
Oh, love YouTube. If you don't know what you're doing, just watch YouTube. It's awesome.
And we did find storage just north of Seattle, and it was a great situation.
Yeah.
It was just about half hour away. It was covered. We had 20 amps of power to keep her warm. And
so we would go up there and have lunch and learn the systems and clean her up and take her out for like a weekend where we'd practice. We called that just touring in the harbor. Like, we have a little boat touring around the harbor as we were learning how to drive this thing and park it. So there was so much to learn.
And it was great.
It was fun. Again, we thought this is going to be a little getaway so that our son has time alone. We have time alone, and it's fun.
Yeah. And that was, we got back from Des Moines, that maiden voyage, the shakedown cruise.
That's right.
In October of 2020. So then through the winter, she was in storage, and we'd go out for 2 weeks at a time locally. And it was great.
It's magical. We would go first for a couple of days, and then we got bold. We're like, let's go for a week. And then it was like, oh, we don't want to go back now. We'll do 2 weeks. And that became the thing. I think 2 weeks was our max at that point.
Yeah,
go out for
and
a couple
then we
weeks.
go back. And Russ had figured out very early on. In fact, when we went out to Des Moines to pick her up, he had already worked out the internets and how he could keep working on Zoom when we were out and about.
Yeah. I had 3 sources because I was so petrified of, like, I'm not going to do this and have it mess up my job, right? Our job is really important to us, and I take it seriously.
Yeah.
So when we went, we had 3 different sources. And what was funny is we went out there, we had to learn everything. And boy, there's funny stories those first few nights when everything went wrong. But when I had to get online for Monday through Friday and we weren't home yet, I was a little petrified those first couple of days because I went online in Zoom and I had that same same Zoom background with the looping video going.
From the condo.
And so while I was in the rig, everyone still thought we were back in the condo. And I didn't do it on purpose. It was just my default. And the first day I hung up the very last call that was all day. And I was like, nobody noticed. And then the next day, nobody noticed. And so we spent a few weeks getting home.
Yeah.
And nobody noticed. And in fact, we didn't tell anybody for a while. We went back out and came back in, and we started to notice, like, wait, what is the phrase you use? Like, everybody's working from home, but home can be anywhere kind of thing.
Home can be anywhere as long as we have reliable internets for Zoom.
And we learned that on the maiden voyage kind of thing, where we had good internet, and I just used all the defaults of what I've been doing at home. And next thing you knew, we started to realize, wait a minute.
Hey. So then, after all that experimenting and just getting out, that condo, the lease was ending in May of 2021. So we'd bought it in October of 2020, and the lease was ending in May 2021. And by that time, we didn't necessarily need or want to be in Seattle anymore. Also, at that time, the housing market was bananas with the prices and the competition, and there was no way. Buying Charlie was super easy compared to trying to find a house or a condo around in Western Washington at that time.
Yeah, we hadn't even found an area that we were interested in yet. So why would we rush out and try to compete with people on a house selling the same day it was listed? So
yeah. And again, home can be anywhere at that time as long as we have reliable internets for the Zoom. That was pretty much the decision at the time, going into maybe January. In the end, we had about 60 days to make this all happen. When we finally decided, hey, we got a 40-foot luxury apartment on wheels up in storage. And we can do this on Zoom. It was not a problem with the work.
Nope.
And we're going full time, baby.
Yeah.
and we were off.
There was definitely some logistic stuff we're glossing over, like the handful of things that we have in the condo we had to figure out what to do with.
Oh, God.
So
that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, and and then at that point our son was going to be heading off to college and have a place for him. So there was definitely some other components we're skipping over here. But the moment you realize you don't know where you want to live, you don't want to buy anything, and you're driving around every couple of weeks in this really nice condo.
So much fun.
Yeah, it became a lot of fun. And we were going places that we'd never even considered all over just the state. We were going to the coast, and we're like, this is really fun. How can we make this work? And so at that point, we spent a lot of time working out the escape plan.
So many details.
Oh, my goodness. But our plan was, okay, at one point when we feel comfortable, we're going to, quote, leave the harbor. Our ship is going to go over the mountains.
Oh, right.
And
because
go.
we went full time in May of 2021 at the end of that lease, moved out, got our son settled up in Bellingham, Washington at school. But we didn't actually go out on the road full time until August, the end of July. So that summer we spent in Blaine here at our home membership park, and we went out a couple of different places. And and then like August 1st, I think we set out.
Yeah, we hit the pedal, and we went over the mountains to Eastern Washington and just kept going.
Yeah, all the way to Florida.
That's right. And it's been amazing because we learned so many things more as we went. We met fabulous people. We saw cool things. And what's cool is this whole origin story. None of this was planned. Like, it's not like we were like checking off, we're going to go see all the national parks. We didn't have that plan. So it's been really cool.
And it wasn't exactly spur of the moment, crazy, stupid impulse buy. Well, kind of.
Well, I wouldn't add the word
It wasn't stupid.
No.
Because it all worked out.
Yeah, it felt a little stupid when we walked in the rig, and moments later she's like, we could buy this. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
I don't know. I don't remember it that way. But okay, basically.
But no, it all worked out, so it wasn't stupid at all. But it was an interesting story, and then in the other podcast we'll talk about all the other details. But it's interesting because I think when we meet people on the road, most people have some interesting story about what happened to them during the pandemic, and it's neat to hear them. And that's just ours. That's a compact version of ours, but it's changed completely the plan. When we moved back to Seattle, our plan was, take care of your mom and buy a house. We had all these other things.
Settle back.
Yeah, and boy, did that change.
It did.
Well,
look at us now.
Yeah.
We're
homeless.
Footloose and fancy free.
We're totally homeless. So.
Yeah, there's so many other stories and so much more to explain. But we did want to share the origin story with you as we launch our podcast.
Yeah.
And share our experience living, working, and traveling full time in our Class A motorhome.
So we appreciate you joining us for this podcast. There's so many other stories, including details we didn't talk about in this one here. We'll cover those in other podcasts. But really appreciate you taking time. If you get a chance, take a look at the show notes. We'll have some of the links to some of the content we talked about here. And we really hope you subscribe. Check out some of the other podcasts that we've recorded here, and we'll see you next time.
Always keep in touch. If you have any questions, comments, any response at all, please drop us a note. And
what are we going to go?
Catch you on the flip side.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's get out there.
That's right. All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye.